The universe is certainly a strange thing when you look at it through gematria goggles. This right here will prove that you can correlate anything with anything through gematria. Apparently, one time there lived a cat named Dusty, and she was the horniest cat in the world. She was born in 1935 and apparently gave birth to 420 kittens throughout her lifetime. This sounds like bullshit to me, but let's go along with it. 420 is a marijuana number. Zach Hubbard has a bunch of posts on how marijuana and 420 come together in gematria. 420 is 88, marijuana is 88. Dusty gave birth to her last kitten on June 12, 1952. This is a date with 89 numerology, and Dusty sums to 89 in English ordinal. What are the odds? Also, June is the 6th month, and what a month for a cat. The numerology of 420 is 6. The reverse ordinal value of Josh Wilson is 126, like the date 12/6, when the most prolific cat named Dusty gave birth to her last kitten, a single kitten. 1952 was the year when the Boggs Act really started hitting hard, and people were being arrested for marijuana possession. On November 2nd, 1951, a date with both 83 and 74 numerology, Harry Truman signed the Boggs Act into law. 83 is the gematria value of kitten. 420, 83, kitten, 83. There is a span of 83 days between Josh's death and the anniversary of Dusty the cat giving birth to her last kitten. Or 2 months and 22 days. 420, 2222, Jewish cipher. Cannabis, 54. Josh Wilson, 54. Cannabis, 186. Joshua T. Wilson, 186. Dusty gave birth to her last kitten a span of 54 days from the April 20 date, 4/20, the Stoner holiday. I know this is kind of cheating, but still this is pretty amazing to look at, because I'm not measuring from the most recent April 20th, but from the one in the year before it. But if you do that, it turns out that Dusty gave birth to her 420th kitten a span of 420 days after April 20th, 1951. As a reminder, she gave birth to her last kitten in 1952. Josh equals 52. Josh Wilson died a span of 337 days after the 20th of April of 2018. 337 is the 68th prime number. Joshua Wilson, 68 reverse full reduction, and yes, he did smoke pot on occasion. By the way, I was notified of his death on the 337th day of the year. Dusty was a tabby cat. Notice the 74-142 overlap between tabby cat and the Boggs Act. I'm actually implying that Dusty the Cat might have been scripted into the gematria coding of the Boggs Act. What gets even crazier and has to be a coincidence is Dusty gave birth to her last kitten 223 days after the Boggs Act was signed into law by Harry Truman. Josh Wilson died on a 22/3 date, and Dusty female cat equals 223, although I highly doubt that they were purposely coding that story back then, that if they were coding it, they would have used the term Dusty female cat. The factorization of 420 has a 223 sequence in it. But how can these things even be related other than numerically? There is more than half a century separating these events. The existence of Dusty the cat that gave birth to 420 kittens could easily be written off as a Masonic lie and a joke. But the Freemasons had no control over me calling myself Dusty female cat in the future. And while they could have sacrificed Josh on a specific date, the fact that Dusty female cat sums to 223 would have been a perfect advantage for them in this coding. Notice how it says here that on January 4, 1952, under the provisions of the Boggs Act, over 500 were arrested for drug possession. Why'd they pick that date to arrest the most people? But anyway, from that date until Dusty gave birth to her last kitten is 160 days. Josh Wilson was born on the 160th day of the year. Josh equals 16. I met Josh when he was 16 years old, and he died at 20. Insanely, things are intermeshing here that could not have been planned. And I never knew about the existence of the horniest cat named Dusty until December 10, 2019. Which means I learned of Dusty 263 days after Josh Wilson's death. 263 is the 56th prime number. Josh, 56. My first name sums to 56 as well. Now, doesn't this all look like a shitload of hogwash? But, as you can see, reality is very mathematical. Everything just goes in circles numerically. Mathematics of the circle, 216 and 126. Josh Wilson, 126. Dusty gives her last birth on 12/6 or 6/12. Josh died on a date where all the digits multiplied together sum to 216. 6 times 6 times 6 is 216. 666 is the number of the beast, and I already pointed out how there was a number of the beast riddle involved with Josh Wilson's death. Mathematics of the circle, 666, Jewish cipher. The Freemasons depict the compass on their emblem, an instrument used for drawing and measuring circles. Josh was born on the 160th day of the year. The circle is 160. Kitten, 83. The circle, 83. The Boggs Act was enacted on 11/2. Circle, 112, reverse ordinal. In the reverse satanic cipher, circle sums to 322, like the date of Josh's death. I found out about the most prolific cat 91 days after my birthday. I found out about this cat on a day leaving 21 days left in the year. YouTube's COPPA rules began on a day leaving 21 days in the year. Circle sums to 50. The letter O is a circle. In both Satanic and Jewish gematria, the letter O has the value of 50. Josh was born on 6/9. That's the English ordinal value of circles. Notice in Satanic, circles sums to 314. 3.14 is pi, used in the mathematics of the circle. An approximation of pi is 22 divided by 7. The gematria of the phrase 22 divided by 7 is 314. It's like we could go on for an eternity with this shit. Round and around, going in circles. And what is the total solar eclipse if not two circles overlapping in the sky? And I already pointed out how Josh Wilson's death was numerically tied into the total solar eclipse of 2019. By dying on 3/22, Josh Wilson died 142 days before the 223rd day of the year, which leaves 142 days in the year. Zach Hubbard was predicting something big was going to happen on August 11, but it didn't turn out as big as it seemed it would. So 8/11 was a prominent number in 2019. I found out about Josh's death 8 months and 11 days after he died. The gematriot of white supremacist is 223 as well.